Oh, there they are. We got the new little kitty here. Let's say hi to the new kitty, the new addition to the family. Hey, girls. What do you know? Who do we have down here? Who's this? Bella, who is that? What's her kitty's name?
That's my son.
That's your son. Come on, what's his name?
No, Milo. Anyways, please.
Milo. Oh, there you go. Look at, there goes Milo, the new little kitty, hiding in the little basket. Welcome back to Mark Holowitz Vlog, everyone. Thanks for joining in. As you can see, we've got some new updates for the week, and I couldn't help but share that with you. That was my daughter Bella. As you all met her in the past, she just brought our new little kitty home. His name's Milo. And as you probably know, we lost our dog. Our previous dog had passed away here a few months back, and of course it left a little bit of a hole, a little gap, and it hit our kids pretty hard. But we decided not to just quickly rebound and replace our old dog with a new pet. We waited for a while, but there you have it. There's our new kitty, Milo. I couldn't help but share that with you. Here, take a quick look. Here's a few moments of me and the kitty last night. As you see it, he's a playful little fella, and he's going to be a lot of fun. I know the girls are taking special ownership and care already of Milo, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be featuring little Milo here in some upcoming videos. But just in case you haven't noticed, what do we have parked behind us here? It's the beautiful BMW X5, which we've had for a long time in the family. If you watched last vlog, then you'll know we had this thing towed away. It was severely cold. We had some -30, -35 degrees Celsius weather, and the vehicle died, and I thought it had a spill, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So we had it towed away, took it to the dealer, and spent some money. I want to update you on that, what that ended up costing. So here we have the X5. I thought we had a puddle, a leak, and so that's one thing why I called the vehicle in. First of all, it was dead. Like, there was no charging, and I tried to put a charger on it. It wouldn't take. I tried to charge it for a couple of days, actually. It just wouldn't take. The battery, of course, is in the back of these things, and you can plug into the front here. There's a nice little port on the front, almost like you get on the Jag. You know how the F-Type here has a little plug-in charger port at the front when you lift up the hood? It's the same idea with the BMWs. You have that front charging port, so you don't actually have to tie directly to the battery. But we did that for a couple of days. It didn't take, and I thought, you know, it was too cold. I really wasn't in the mood to start monkeying around with this thing. We thought we had a big leak of some type. The battery was dead. Nothing was working. We had to get it going. So we took it into, had the dealer deal with it. And it was great. It was a pretty good experience because we just called the BMW Roadside Assistance Hotline. And there is a special number for that. And because, of course, clearly the vehicle's old. This is a 2009. No warranty. Do you think there's roadside assistance for free? Well, normally there isn't. But because we had never used it before, they told us if we have never used the functionality that you get one free complimentary tow, and we took them up on that. So the vehicle cost us nothing to get to the dealer, which was a win. However, that takes us to the next part. So let me explain. As I mentioned last video, I thought it sprung a big leak, and there was a big puddle down in this area. And if any of you know, this is the 35D. We have the diesel in this vehicle. So that's actually where the diesel exhaust fluid active tank sits right there. There's a heater and a tank all built in, and it's in this corner. There's also a filler reservoir right here, and there's a backup reservoir over there. But it looked like there was a big leak in this area, and from my best recollection, I mean, there's a lot of wet on the ground, so it's hard to tell. But from what I could see, I actually thought that we had a problem with the diesel exhaust fluid tank. After all, we had it changed a couple years ago under warranty, under that extended warranty that was run, that BMW offered up to 200,000 kilometers or 10 years. We took them up on that a few years back. That was back in 19. We just got it under the whistle. But turns out, after we took the vehicle in, turns out there was no issue. Now, they did say there was a little bit of oiliness around the oil filter housing, and they couldn't really make out, other than once the vehicle thawed in the shop, they had a quick look, and turns out, other than, you know, a little bit of oiliness up top, they couldn't find anything down here. There's nothing obvious. So really, we're kind of in a lot of ways happy to hear about that. I mean, a little disappointed in one hand because I thought we actually had a leak. Turns out there wasn't actually a leak of any type. And they asked, hey, do you want to shampoo the engine? How else do you diagnose a leak? Well, you got to start with a clean engine. So we allowed them to do that. I think that was $180 or something. And coincidentally, because this is BMW in Canada, I mean, I don't know how it works where all you guys are from, but unfortunately, just to tow it in and diagnostic charge without even touching it, they're going to charge you $179 or something like that. So we were dealing with $170 plus a shampoo to diagnose any leaks. That was first step. Second step, we knew it wouldn't take a charge. They confirmed that after we paid the diagnostic fee, of course. And then we realized, well, they confirmed what I knew. The battery was toast and it wouldn't even take a charge. So they asked, do you want a new battery? You know, normally I go third party, but this time we said, hey, BMW, go ahead, because we know when you do a BMW battery like this, you actually have to recode it. You have to program the computer to tell it that it has a new battery. Otherwise, it continues charging based on the assumption that your battery is half toast, and the computer learns it apparently. It's barbaric. I'm assuming the Jag and probably a lot of modern day vehicles have similar systems in place. I don't know. I've never changed a battery in the F-Type yet, but we're going to try it at one point. We're probably going to deal with that. And I'll be sure to investigate whether that's applicable to some of these other luxury cars. But in the BMW world, barbarically enough, I had to pay for the new BMW battery, which isn't cheap, their recoding of the battery, the shampoo of the engine, and they just topped up the DEF fluid. You know what? I don't know. In most places, a battery change should be a relatively affordable thing. Let me tell you, by the time this vehicle left the BMW shop, and of course not including towing, just those few little things I mentioned, a little bit more kicking tires and sniffing around, the big thing was just the battery. This vehicle left the BMW shop after I paid a bill of almost $1,200 Canadian. How do you like that? That's a smack in the face. That's right, it's pricey to get these done at the dealer. Why do you think I like to do a lot of my own work? And that takes us to the Jaguar F-Type. Now, I know a lot of guys on the forums are starting to talk about doing some of their basic maintenance. As these cars are getting older, now you're looking at models that go back, you know, 2016, 15, 14s. There gets a point now where warranty is non-existent and people have to start getting creative. Now, I'm starting to hear talks about coolant leaks with some of these vehicles. Obviously, we've got hoses that are starting to get dried out and crusty, and some of the cars I've been noticing, actually one of my viewers requested last week, he said that he had a coolant leak underneath on the floor on his F-Type, and then coincidentally topped it up, drove for a while, and then it said low coolant light again. And he asked me what the problem was. Well, the problem is it's actually hard to diagnose that, of course, without seeing it. But I know from experience, when I had the BMW 335, I had the similar thing. It all of a sudden started going low coolant. I'd start leaking it, then I got the over temp warning lights, and I got a bunch of things like that, and then I topped it up, I bled the system, and it was good for, you know, a few kilometers, and then it came on again. So I wonder if that person isn't dealing with a similar situation. Now, it could be any number of leaks. He could legitimately have leaks. There could be hoses or clamps. They can all leak. That's always a thing. However, my experience was with the BMW was it's an electric water pump on the BMW, and the thermostat's all tied to it, so it's all one big enclosure, and it's a pain in the ass to fix. I'm not going to lie. But what it turned out to be was a water pump that was faulty. It just wasn't cutting the mustard. So after I changed the water pump and the thermostat unit as a whole on that N54 powered N335 BMW, and I bled the system, then it was good after that. So I advised the person in the comment section that check the water pump, check the thermostat, they're all possibilities, or it could be as simple as a leaking hose. But I know from experience, sometimes the water pump can act up and do some really weird things to the system. So my first thing would be rinse off the engine, run it around the vehicle, around the house, and take a look and make sure it isn't obvious that you don't have some kind of a leak going on somewhere. Somewhere it might become more obvious, maybe just a hose, but again, water pump or thermostat could in fact be your culprit. Either way, it gets to a point where because of that gouge fest that I had with BMW, and they treated me well, I mean, service advisors were top shelf, absolutely no issue there. The problem is just, it's the BMW way. I mean, they got their prices, they've got their labor and their shop fees, and you're gonna pay, and you're gonna pay dearly. So if you can learn to fix your cars yourself, you're gonna be miles ahead and dollars in the pocket. So it's funny, you guys saw last week when I was walking around, I heard the crunching under my boots of the snow, and that's what it does around here when it's minus 30, 35, minus 40 degrees. You get that crunchiness under the boots. I mean, just look here. when you walk, it would be crunchy. But now we've got water accumulating. Actually, today's starting to melt. As you'll notice, you've got liquid all over the place. And now clearly we're getting melting. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's a bizarre place we live here in Canada. We can be -40 one day, 3 days later, it can be +5. And that's exactly what we're experiencing right now. So I think it's time to clean a little bit of that ice right there that we have right here. So enough about me today. I couldn't resist. I've been watching the news a lot lately, and I've been noticing a lot of commentary about interest rates changing and for the drastic. Oh, wait a minute. Take a look. There we have some collateral damage. It looks like somebody lost a piece of bumper or fender or something here in the snow. But that's to be expected when you hit these kind of icy banks. Well, that looks like a predicament, doesn't it? Bit of a sticky spot to get out of. Oh, and it looks like there's a ticket on there too. But here in Canada, I've been doing a lot of reading here recently, and I can't help but wonder, and I'm going to reach out to you guys. I'm not an economist, and I don't pretend to be, I don't want to be. It's not my passion, but money is my passion to a point. So there is a small fraction of falsity in that, but I do want to talk to you guys, and maybe you guys can shed some light on this for me. You know, here up in Canada, where I'm from, and certainly I can see things changing throughout the globe with all of the money that's being spent within each country, just, you know, for subsidy to keep people afloat during the hard times that we've seen through these last couple of years. You know, the governments have done a lot of things. They've thrown a lot of money, they printed a lot of money, and now we're in a place where they're trying to recoup a lot of that. And unfortunately, I don't know what it looks like for the future. Now, I know here where I'm from, and here in Alberta, specifically Edmonton here in Canada, and there's been lots of conversation about housing markets being really hot. You know, houses flipping. There's not enough used houses on the market. Of course, with supply chain concerns throughout the globe, building homes is a challenge because getting building materials or fixtures or what have you for building new homes has been challenging. So it takes 2-3 times longer to build a house today. And so that forces people to start looking at the used sector. And now, unfortunately, a lot of that's been gobbled up. And I'm hearing a lot of talk about a lot of the used housing market has been really, really hot this year in Alberta. And there's been so many weird things happening in the economy and dollars and spending and in inflation to the point where now they're talking inflation being up in 6, 7, 8% this year. And mortgage rates being below that, now you're potentially money in the bank this year on your mortgage. But with that said, there's been lots of talk. I heard even rumors that there's suggestions by the federal government here to hike rates up as much as 500% by the end of 22. Could you imagine what that means for homeowners, especially somebody on a flexible mortgage or somebody who's not locked in for a long period of time, and all of a sudden, wham, all of a sudden within a year's 12 months time, you're seeing interest rates just crank like that? This takes me to the next conversation about buying these cars. Now, you guys are all aware that I've been talking a lot about buying another car, and I've been finding it a struggle to find cars. The cars are out there, you know, the good ones, the decent miles, they're there and then they're gone. You know, one shows up on the local classifieds and then it's gone. It shows up a week later, it's gone. It doesn't even give a person a chance to even look at it. Sadly enough, because where I'm from, Western Canada, the money's not out here, the population's not out here, and so the selection of cars aren't out here. So I'm always having to look down to Ontario and Montreal and Quebec and those areas. That's where the majority of the cars are sitting. So for me to just get on a plane, it's a pain in the rump. I mean, we all know with what's going on right now. I don't want to be in a little enclosed tube next to a bunch of people potentially that are sick. So it's not just as simple as getting on a plane and going down east and looking around. I'm trying to stay away from that situation, but what we're finding is a lot of the great cars are just disappearing. You know, I've been looking at the 720 McLarens and the Aventadors. I'm even looking at the Ferrari 48s. Those are the top 3 on my list. And there's some other cars I've scaled down, you know, Huracans, special edition versions, and other, you know, other one-offs that do entice. But the unfortunate part is a lot of the good cars, as I said, are just coming and going, and that makes it very, very difficult. But I have to ask the question, if the Bank of Canada is looking at cranking up rates as much as 500% in a year, depending on what these people did for extending themselves or potentially overextending themselves, buying some of these $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 supercars, what does that mean for some of these people? No, granted, there's a lot of people that have the money. They're, you know, they weren't traveling, or they don't plan on traveling, or, you know, it's been a dream of theirs. They're just going to spend it anyway. Whatever that is, there's always people that have throwaway money, monopoly money, and it doesn't matter. But between you and I, we all know that a lot of people are borrowing, leasing, and all kinds of variation in between. And that's just a norm. That's a North American standard, is borrow it. If it's not yours, just borrow it. The bank will give, the bank has lots of money. They'll just keep throwing it at you. People are borrowing money to buy these supercars. Well, what does that mean? Okay, maybe they're locked in on a 5-year loan, whatever that looks like. That's great. But what happens when the mortgage that they're paying on is subject to a major increase, which is potentially what the Bank of Canada is talking about doing right now? Where do you think that puts some of these people? Between a rock and a hard place is where I'd say it kind of puts some of them. Again, there's lots of people that can afford it. It's not a problem. But there's lots that are extending themselves, and in some cases overextending themselves. And I can't help but wonder, within this 12 months, if the federal governments are looking at hiking up rates, if you're going to see some shift in the car market. If mortgage rates go up, people can't live in their Lamborghini. So people are going to have to start looking at dumping their cars, or at the very least, less people buying at that point. So I've got to wonder, and I really do believe that even though it's been an absolutely ridiculous year for buying supercars, because you're competing with a lot of people that just have a loose constitution and aren't really willing to spend all their money. So I have to believe car prices are going to start to do this, which is, for people like myself who are actually in the market, this is definitely a major win. So that's why I'm sort of hanging in there. I'm not jumping to the pump. Now, if I do see the right car, absolutely, I'm on it. But at the same token, could be a potential game of cat and mouse, waiting for interest rates to shift and watching the natural lagging effect to see what starts to happen in the car industry. Of course, specifically the exotic cars. I think the day-to-day vehicles, the $30,000 cars, I think there's going to be a longer lag. Now, with that, there will be a change too, I got to believe as well, because think about it for a second. I mean, after all, we know that there's hundreds of thousands of vehicles sitting, whether at the ports or whether in the back lot of these car lots, or whether they're at the manufacturers' facilities. There's lots of cars waiting for those chips. Now, of course, some of these manufacturers are saying, you know, we'll supply a car without the backup cameras or without certain features. I know BMW's already said that they'll provide vehicles without the new iDrive system or mDrive systems. And they'll do that just for the sake of moving a car along and making the sale. Even if it's skimming $1,000 or $2,000 off the top, they'll move the vehicle along. But at some point, all these vehicles are going to catch up. You're going to have far more inventory than you will have people buying, because with these interest rates cranking up, everything stabilizing in that side of it, all this extra inventory will be now available. Currently it isn't, but it will play catch up. And once it does, watch car prices take a dive. I've got to believe that's going to happen within the next year. You're going to start to see that decline this year. It's almost inevitable. It's got to be the perfect storm, sure, but the storm is brewing. So that's really what I believe in. What are your guys' thoughts? You think the car market's going to take a dip here at some point? I mean, supercars, it's a luxury item. It's got to take a hit. That's probably one of the first things we'll see. But then the regular car market, in my opinion, will slump too. What are your thoughts? Let me know. What about on the US side of the border? What about in Europe? I mean, all you viewers across the board, I get viewers from Australia, you name it. What do you guys think in your particular region? What do you think is going to happen? Do you anticipate the car market taking a dip? What do you think is going to happen financially within your economy? Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Please drop a line below. I'd love to hear it. To me, it's such a hot topic right now. There's so much going on in the economy, and pretty much every country around the globe. Things are changing at a crazy rate. So I'd love to hear it. Please drop a line. And as well, above all, please do subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. If you are, thanks very much. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.